Welcome to the Recover You podcast. I'm Kylene.
And I'm Patrick.
We are a couple in recovery
From sex addiction
and betrayal trauma. Together, we share our story to encourage you on your journey. It's here that we talk about sex addiction, betrayal trauma, mental, emotional, and physical health, faith, and anything and everything needed to recover you to your most authentic self that God created you to be. Welcome, everyone, to this very special episode of Recover You. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Kylene. It is special today.
Special.
I know. Today's a really cool day.
It's a very special day.
Yeah.
Special.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Special.
Do you want?
I was like, I started saying it. I was like, I've said it like 3 times. So
I know.
I'm going to make fun of myself.
Special.
Okay.
Special. Today is, do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
5 years.
5 years in recovery.
Yeah. Literally the day we're recording this, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And I have some stories about that. But before we get into that, Patrick was traveling a little bit this week. How'd that go for you?
It didn't go well. Now, the good part was
It didn't go well.
Didn't go well. I was actually where I was traveling to once I arrived was nice. It was Orlando, and it was in the hotel I was in was a nice hotel, and the location.
But the Snowmageddon that was not actually a blizzard did impact the travel significantly.
Yeah.
And what did you do that you knew you probably shouldn't do, but you did it anyways?
Travel?
You booked your connection.
Oh, through O'Hare. Yeah.
And this is what Patrick says. He goes, well, it's because they always have the best times. And I was like, Patrick, I think you're in a toxic relationship with the O'Hare airport because you keep expecting them to behave differently than they have proven that they continue to behave, which is they cannot get things out on time. So they're like wooing you with these better flight times. But do they ever actually pull through?
No, I guess.
It ends up being so much longer.
I mean, there has
even
been
when
times.
there's no snow, you have bad experiences.
Yeah. I mean, it's generally weather related, though.
I think you need to break up with O'Hare.
Yeah, I might need to. But I did hear today that everything through Charlotte got canceled, too.
The snow stuff is true. You probably would have had issues anywhere. But I just feel like you always make these excuses. But see, then you even told me, you're like, we are not going to put our personal travel through O'Hare. You even said that to me not too long ago. And then here you go, booking it through O'Hare both times. You had to spend the night in O'Hare on the way there, and then you got delayed through O'Hare on the way back.
Yeah. So, it was actually kind of a...
This episode is all about how you should not
fly through O'Hare.
Yeah, you should not.
Is O'Hare going to sue us? They might.
I don't know what happened when that guy wrote the song "United Breaks Guitars." Did he get sued from United?
I think they stopped breaking guitars.
Maybe, yeah. There we go. Yeah. We're doing this episode. Maybe O'Hare will get better with their flight times.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Challenge accepted. Okay, so you're home though, which is great.
Got home.
So today is 5 years, which is super awesome. And the culmination of events today was so interesting to me on a spiritual level. I just thought it was so, I think God's love is in the details. And I think it's so easy sometimes to miss or not notice, or especially when you're going through hard times. A lot of times it's like this, when you turn around and reflect, you can kind of see how he showed up, and it's hard to see sometimes in the moment. But this weekend, it was like, oh my gosh. So our church is going through the 150th celebration and season. And one of the things that we're doing is called Moments of Grace, because the name of our church is Grace Lutheran. And so people are going up and saying what grace, the idea of grace, like grace from God, grace through humans, grace by being, their experience of grace by going to grace, right? And so I have been in charge of organizing that and putting the calendar together and everything. And so the first thing was that like a month ago, we realized that I had not intentionally scheduled you to do your Moments of Grace today.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then you woke up this morning and you, your sobriety app said what?
But for the grace of God.
But for the grace of God.
Yeah.
I was like, how does that happen? Yeah. Did I schedule you on that day? It worked out that you were able to do it today. And then your sobriety app looped the word grace in there. I was like, that's just.
Yeah.
I think that's God, like, I don't know. It's like, what do they call them? Like the winks, where it's like these little reminders, like, hey, I'm here. I'm in the details. Like, I see you. I recognize this. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing morning.
And you had a really nice statement that you made today about what grace meant to you.
I was nervous.
Yeah, you did get nervous.
Yeah.
But you did a good job.
Generally don't get nervous anymore, but I don't know for some reason. But
you did a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I got some pretty positive feedback from it and stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
well, I read my moment of grace several months ago on the podcast when I shared mine, and the church just has really, the people in the church have just really been supportive through this process specifically. And that's just been really, really nice. So we thought that we would do a special. That's my word of the day. Word of the day. Special.
This was specially scheduled on Sunday to record when we always record our episode.
Yeah, but look how it all lined up.
But it was special
right?
when we hit play.
You're being special right now.
Special.
Okay, so we're going to do this episode all around 5 years, and we're going to walk through some questions and thoughts and reflections about the past 5 years. And I have some questions that I'll kind of read or say, and then the two of us will kind of, from the addict in recovery and then from the betrayed in recovery hitting 5 years, like how we feel about these things. Anything that you want to sort of start with in terms of a reflection?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really realize it until probably about Wednesday of this last week, but I think I had been feeling the weight of this day coming over the last 2 weeks. There were some things that had kind of hit that were really emotional. I felt myself being more emotional, and so I remember when I wrote my 10-year letter, I had actually put 10 years of faster scales, and I was thinking as we were getting close to the 5-year thing, I was like, oh my gosh, I've done close to 5 years of faster scales. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when we were thinking about on the way home from church, I was estimating like how many groups you've been in.
Yeah,
and because some weeks you started week 1 in groups, and so it's been 5 years,
right,
with very few missed for like vacation or maybe a couple around the holidays or things like that. And then some. Then you've for a long time it's been 2 groups, and then for a period of time it was 3 because you were leading 2 and then you were in 1. And so I think it's very reasonable to estimate somewhere around 500. You've gone to group 500 times.
Right. Yeah.
In the past 3 years.
Yeah.
At least. It might be closer to 700.
Yeah. No, and
which that's like insane.
Well, and the great
then I was like, you've watched Conquer like 500 times on those videos. You could probably like by memory quote the script from the beginning to the end of those videos. Like you know
probably. Exactly
what is in there.
Yeah, probably.
And you're tell them what you say about your theology.
Yeah, everything I've learned about theology and God, I've learned from the Conquer series.
But like think about that though. Like it's a little bit of a joke because you do know more than that. But it's not a bad thing, because think about, it's like when someone says I read Proverbs every day and I've read it like 100 times or something like that. When you take something and then you watch it or you read it or you get exposed to it over and over and over and over, a lot of people I think might write that off. Like, oh, I already know this. But you, for whatever reason, specifically because you were leading, and so you just repeat, because you have new people coming in all the time. You were like, I like going through these because every time, even though it's been like 500 times, literally, every time I hear something new.
Yeah.
And then you get an idea and it's going to impact you in one way. And then you get that same idea and it's going to impact you on a deeper level, because the way that you're thinking and the way that your brain works when it gets into recovery changes.
Yeah.
And the way you're able to hear things and the way you're able to apply things to your life shifts. So you could hear the same thing literally 500 times. And the 500th time, it might have a different meaning to you, very different meaning to you than the first time you hear it. So I just think that's cool.
Yeah. No, it is cool. And I think back on what my expectations, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the podcast, but what my expectations of recovery were versus what they are now, and how much that shifted. I also was thinking about it. It's a very simple thing for someone who's not an addict to think about, but it's what you achieve when you achieve sobriety and recovery, sobriety and then recovery, is you just go about your life. And it's at times mundane, and at times exciting, but it's always appropriate. And so like I was thinking about that, I was like, I have this stressful thing and I get stuck in Chicago and then I go down, blah, 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 and all this, stuff like that. And, who knows what my behavior would have been before, but this time it was just, okay, well, here I am and this is what I'm doing. And I have my tools and I exercise my tools and then I focus on my job and then I focus on you and I think about Keegan, you know what I mean? And like, it's just, it's a real gift to get to this point. And I guess what I want to say is I don't take it for granted and I don't take you for granted. Because like, I always think back and I don't think that image will ever leave my mind of how you looked, as you started to find out. And so I think it's just, you don't, I think most of us are good people and we don't want to hurt people. We really don't. And recovery gives you the tools to allow you to stop hurting others and stop hurting yourself. And it's just a really, really nice, and then to heal beyond that, right? And so this last 2 weeks, I was kind of surprised at the amount of emotion that was kind of roiling around in me. Yeah. And so I think it was just a major, deep reflection of what was going on, and so it's really cool to kind of see where we are and how comfortable we are. And then how, like our relationship with Keegan and even though I was nervous today, I wasn't not going to talk about it, right? It was one of those things I was going to talk about it, and so it's just recovery is, some people shirk away from it and they go, I'll do 10 lessons and I'll stop. Like, gosh, just don't stop, keep going, because the beautiful life that you live, and I've said this to you before, but I used to always look at these people, and I don't know whether they were solid or not, but these people that I thought were like great family men, great professionals, had their stuff together. And in my dark, addicted mind, I was like, I wish I could be like them. And occasionally it hits me. I'm like, well, I'm them now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you don't know if the them that you were looking up to, if they had their own
Yeah, I didn't know what was deep inside of them, but it that continues to hit me. I'm like, well, I'm open, I'm honest. You know everything about me. There's nothing going on. I'm, and so it wasn't an easy road, but it was a beautiful road. And I think when you go through hard things, it helps you. I don't think. I especially when you're trying to, I needed to see your pain. I needed to see the pain of the men in the groups. I needed to hear all those stories in order to heal. And so the healing journey, it's been a blessing. There's been so many, you and Keegan, and then all the people who have come alongside of us and coached me and helped me, and Charles and all of these people. Like, it took an entire army of people to help me through this. And it's nice to be where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emotion thing is interesting because for me, coming up to this, I think it's really been living in our subconscious. I don't know that it's been a little bit in our conscious, but I think also deeply in our subconscious that we were coming towards this, this moment, right? And it was interesting because I've been like feeling really happy, like really positive, happy emotions, almost like this next layer of trauma healing or recovery is like coming off, and I'm feeling more free to be and, enjoy my life. And like all of these things are like becoming more and more a possibility, right? And just like happy. And then it's so interesting just how grief and trauma and healing, how the body remembers, right? Because yesterday was the 5 years of discovery, like the moment of discovery. And I woke up yesterday morning and I had a dream that you cheated on me. And I walk into the bathroom and I'm like, I just had a dream that you did this. And you're like, well, I didn't do it. And I'm like, well, you need to take this dream seriously.
You need to apologize for this.
And it's so interesting just because you're like, what is that other than your body remembers that this really horrible thing happened, and it's just reminding you, like, hey, are you okay with where you're at, and so it's just really interesting. Sometimes there will be emotions that come up, or a dream like that, or something, right? But that was something I could move through, and then we had today and the moment of grace, and we're going to be talking about all the good things on this podcast, and of course the grief as well. We'll touch on that, but yeah, it's just really. It was interesting to me to notice, I think there's this next layer coming off of I'm free to live my life. I'm free to enjoy it. I can relax. I can be more and more and more and more and more myself. Maybe that means without some sort of protection, some sort of guard up, some sort of shield, some sort of defense mechanism, it's just I can be myself living in the world, which is sort of the way you describe it, right? Like I get to just go through the world. And maybe there's a parallel there.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into some of these questions. So what did you think, and we'll both answer these like bidirectionally, what did you think sobriety or recovery might look like early on? And how has our view changed over the past 5 years? So, if after discovery, did you have an idea of when we started getting into recovery work, what that might look like, or?
Yeah, I felt like I was messed up. I really did. I felt like I would stop doing the behavior. I felt like that would happen, right? But I didn't understand the linkage to like these deep wounds and how I had used this to medicate, and then it, that took me 2 years to get to the point where you actually love the addict part of you. You know what I mean? Like all of this crazy stuff, but I didn't know any of that was coming. And so I think I don't think it was until late year 3, 4, into year 4 that I was like, oh, we're developing greater empathy is what we're doing. We're gaining the tools to learn how to be more empathetic. And by being empathetic, then you don't hurt people. You know what I mean? And so like this whole relationship from just, I'm going to get to the point where I don't do the behavior, which is what I thought it was. I thought sobriety was synonymous with recovery. And so I thought they were one and the same. So versus getting here and being able to process deep, huge emotions and showing up for people and being a better boss and being a better husband and allowing my emotions to flow. Because that was even one thing that came up today. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to squelch my nervousness. It is what's going through me right now. Whereas I might have done something different in the past. If I had to speak on something, I'm like, this is just allowing,
pull out the sarcasm or something.
Yeah, allow my nervous system to kind of move through it and just kind of figure it out. So yeah, it was I never knew what true relationship was or any of those things. I think I gained a greater.
Do you think you had any idea the amount of work that recovery would take?
I mean, it's yes. I think I knew that I had a major problem. Like, I think I recognized that, like, before discovery, that, like, I needed something and it was going to take a while. I think it was one of those, like, I always knew, like, the other part of this is, like, I knew that the automobile accident and subsequent years from that had really messed me up. But what I didn't understand is how some of the deeper things and the wounding and the limiting beliefs and everything that had carried into the accident had made, you know what I mean? So all of these different things. So I knew it would take, I figured it would take some work. I just didn't know, like, the twists and turns that you would get to and stuff like that, and the realizations that would come along in different ways.
Okay, so let's see. When I think about this question, what did we think it might look like early on? I had no idea.
Yeah.
When I initially heard it could take 5 years, I was very, very overwhelmed, upset. I had a lot of like, this, how is this fair that my life is going to be different for 5 years? So I went from obviously you went from like the pit right into stabilization to improvement to better, right? I went from normal sort of neutral to good feeling about my life to the pit. And it was really hard. I have a hard time sometimes articulating when I look back, I even told you this the other day. I'm like, I don't even know how I made it through the first year. When I look back now, it's like when you're in it, you feel like you can tolerate so much. And when you're out of it, you're like, how did I tolerate that?
I think that's why people will say, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah. Oh, I'll never do it again.
Yeah. Right.
There's 0% chance. Yeah. We've talked about that. Every year has gotten better, but every year I look back and I'm like, how did I do the previous year? You know what I mean? And so like year 4 and 5 has brought so much more joy and like good things. But the first year was just total misery. I mean, it was literal survival for me. Yeah. That first year was literal survival. And then the second year was better and I was stabilized, right? But it was like, but what's going to happen and how do I feel? And all the the trauma was not gone, right? And so I had no idea what recovery would look like. And how has it shifted now? I guess now I can see the trajectory. I can see what year over year looks like. I can see the pattern. And of course, working with other people too. It's like, yeah, there are some pretty clear patterns that people go through from day one to getting to a place where they can sort of live their life again.
Yeah.
And there are definitely common stuck points. And I think for me, I think the trauma aspect of it was so big for me that part took me a long time to begin to emerge from and to really, like I was talking about earlier, the fact that like layers are still coming off of like, oh, I'm free to be. I can be my weird, happy little, bizarre little self, and that feels really good and freeing for me. And I think I was stuck so much in maybe over managing life and just not knowing how things would end up and not knowing, like, I don't know. There were a lot of layers. So I think the answer is I had no idea what it would look like at year 1. I can see the picture now. I see the steps. I've lived the steps. I watch other people go through it. There's definitely phases and steps. But yeah, in the beginning, I had no idea how I would handle it or what that would look like. It was so totally a day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
For a really long time. It was one day at a time. That's all I could do.
Yeah, I think that was true for both of us. And I think in weird ways, we supported each other in our worst days. You know what I mean? There were days where you couldn't get out of bed and I was Johnny on the spot and I was all of these things. And there were other days when I think just the weight of all of it crushed me. And you like held me up. And even though it wasn't like, no, this is not Hansel and Gretel here. This is Hansel and Gretel. Sorry, those are brother and sister. That's weird. Beauty and the Beast. Sorry.
Like, the children in the oven that the witch eats? What's happening?
Never mind. Delete that. No, it wasn't like a beautiful love story. It was just
now I'm like, yeah, Hansel and Gretel's the wrong story.
Sorry, yeah. It was you supporting, a fellow human being who you cared for.
Seeing you as a human.
That's right.
And I think your responses to recovery, your ability to feel and to notice, you knew that what you had done was wrong. There's no arguing that. So you coming in from a place of humility and saying like, what I did was wrong and I'm taking ownership for that allowed me to be able to see you as a human and to support you. I think, things could have been very different if you were like, well, this is just who I am. Yeah. Which is sort of what you did in my dream yesterday. Which is that horrible. Guy. I was like, what is this? Yeah. So, if you had done that, I think your ability to say this was wrong, and I could see your distress is the thing. I could see the distress. I could see the distress when you were telling me. I could see the distress when I would find things out. I could see the distress when you would see how upset I was. I could see that this was not something that you wanted in your life. No, so I think that was very helpful for me. What is your favorite recovery tool, or what has helped you the most? Besides, obviously, me telling you day 1 to get your shit together.
Yes, of course. No, I mean,
or day 2, whatever day that was.
Three-legged stool yet again. And so, you holding strict boundaries, all those things, loving on me, supporting me, therapy and groups. And I think if I was to go a little bit deeper, the joke is always, journaling. Seriously journaling, not checking the block journaling. And I include the faster scale in there. And I've continued to do journaling in faster scales. I did it this morning. I don't think I've missed a day, and gosh, I don't know when it's been. But, and my plan is to continue to go because it's important for me to get my emotions out and for me to recognize where I'm at. And and what's going on and all of these different things. And I think those tools, folks stop doing those tools, and I think
or never start.
Because
it's a daily pattern kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think even if somebody moved away from the physical checking off the box in the faster scale, because I do think there's situations where, let's say someone does that for like a year and a half, and it's so ingrained, they know exactly how to internally check in on themselves, and they make it a pattern, so it becomes like second nature. There's some people that might work for, but the idea is that in whatever capacity, whether it is doing the physical exercise itself, or you become so in tune with your own emotions and know exactly how to respond to them that it's second nature to you, that you are engaging in that process for the rest of your life. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah,
and
right.
if you need to do that tangible reminder of like, here's a physical thing that will help be in front of me, do it. Because we can all be forgetful or busy or whatever.
Well, I think the reason I really hold true to that is our brains have been wired to be addicts over decades in many cases, right? And so you don't unwind that in 90 days to a year. So you need to keep going because you're rewiring that brain. And because we can't get in there and look at it with an MRI every 3 months or whatever, like I feel like it's a really important step to keep rewiring.
Well, I think we have
brain.
to remember too, it's not just physiological.
Right.
Recovery is not just about calming down the chemical cascade. It's not just about not doing the behavior. That's sobriety. Recovery is integrating the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical aspects of you as a human being.
Right.
And the deeper layers are the emotional and spiritual layers. You can get into the physical recovery super fast.
Yeah.
Your brain can heal very quickly. The neuroplasticity, canceling the patterns, getting the blood flow, all of these things, your body can physically recover so quickly from different, impacts and traumas. But it is the spiritual maturity, the spiritual healing, the emotional intelligence, the emotional depth, the healing, like the courage of facing the pain. All of those things are the things that take time.
Right.
And so whatever the tools are that help you do that regularly are the tools you should stick with.
Yeah.
And I love that you said, hey, it's 5 years. People say 3 to 5 years is the amount of time it takes for deep recovery. You're on the far end of that. You've just completed 5 years. And you're like, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's so, so important because the tools that help us aren't just helping us in recovery. They're helping us become better humans.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the pursuit is not, oh, I'm trying to run away from relapsing. It's, no, I'm trying to constantly become a better human.
Well, and I feel very much so that I've been given a gift. You gave me a gift. Keegan gave me a gift. I gave myself a gift. And so I don't want to squander this gift. I want to keep doing whatever I got to do to keep it locked in. Not from a frantic, sort of thing, but like, hey, let's keep working these tools that the commitments to change, all of these different things that help us, maintain our recovery and grow even further.
Yep. So let's see, my favorite recovery tool or what has helped me the most. I think maybe two pieces in terms of like tangible tools would be education and coaching or, in therapy in certain instances. I'm somebody that really likes education. I really like to know what's happening. So for me to understand, going through different classes and learning about the nervous system and going through different, whether it was therapy in some instances or different coaching things or even the coaching certifications that I went through that then I went through the exercises and the healing processes myself. Like all of these things at different points served different purposes and helped me. And I think the thing that tied it all together was this ability to go, hey, there's this thing in my life, this feeling or this stuck point, or I'm not okay with right now. There's something uncomfortable inside of me that I don't want to be uncomfortable with forever. And so finding the education or the tool or the resource or the human that could maybe help me through that thing. And all of those in different ways have helped me through the process. I mean, I'm even back to working with a coach right now because I'm like, hey, I have some things that are kind of inside of me that I've struggled with for a couple of years. And like relationally with other people that I kind of want to work on my insides around how I feel about these things. And it's so helpful. The stuff that you can get done in an hour with coaching is like unbelievable. And I sent her this message after. I was like, it's just so great because, she knows that I'm a coach, right? And she has a coach. But it's just, it's the person on the outside that can listen, can feed it back to you in a way that you can hear it, and then can help you reframe something in a way that helps the energy move through your body.
Right.
Because it's sometimes like if we can do that by ourselves, if we could out logic it, or if we could do it by ourselves and outthink this process, we would have done it yesterday. I mean, everybody doesn't like to feel these ways, right? So sometimes it's as simple as working with somebody that can see it, say it, and give you a reframe or a tool or a resource or an exercise that can help the energy shift a little bit. And so I think those are the things that have helped me the most. And then, of course, we always talk about time. So if we're talking about relationally, it would be you being super consistent, like hardcore consistent in sobriety, in recovery, in empathy towards me, in honesty, in like all of these things of understanding my pain, consistent. Because I was so not ready to, you would send me love and I was so not ready to receive it for a long time. And then eventually I was like, okay, this is a little vulnerable, but I'm going to try to receive it, right? And even we've mentioned that we were designing a ring together, and that process completed recently. And even putting it on my finger, I felt an energy shift in my body. And I was like, do I feel uncomfortable about this? How does this feel for me to put a ring back on? Because I was so used to not wearing it, and there was a feeling associated with that. And then I put it on, and there was a feeling associated with that. It was like an energy when the ring went on. And so just being able to go, how do I feel about that? And then, well, just give it a minute. And then it moved through my body and everything was fine.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is nice,
Yeah.
And so, I think learning the things, I've learned a lot of things as a coach and as an educator to help other people, but a lot of times those same exact tools are the ones that have helped me the most.
Yeah.
And, that's why I like what I do, because it's when I started learning some of the tools, I was like, oh, this is transformative. I want to help other people, and so, I think education and coaching and then your consistency.
I think you had a real wisdom about you that you were like, I don't want to be here. And even, certainly from the trauma of betrayal, but then all these other things that you work through, the OCD side of things and all of this stuff that you were like, I'm going to keep going, and what you've recently talked about, but like, I'm going to keep going because I don't want to be stuck in these patterns. Like, I don't like these patterns. And so I've always admired that about you, is you're like, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? I don't want to stay here. I think that was always really good for us from a relationship standpoint too, because you were like, yes, it's better than it was a year ago, but I don't want to stay here. I want to get past this. So
I think sometimes, I talk to my clients about, it's kind of like a stair step. Sometimes we can get onto the stair step and it feels so good to be there because, like, let's say we're moving out of the shock phase, right? Whew, coming out of the shock phase feels great. Okay, so now I'm not, maybe as hyperactive in my mind, right? Now maybe my mind is starting to calm down, or then but then the trick with the stairs is that sometimes when we get to a place that feels better, we want to stay there. And so I think it's really important that we listen to our intuition and allow it to speak to us, that when we hit the back of the stair, it's time to go up to the next one. And so that's really important. And why do we resist doing that sometimes? Because pushing up the stair is hard. It takes muscles. It takes change. You don't know what's on the other level. You don't know what you're going to feel like there. And you just, you're like, hey, I just got to this one. It's like, okay, you can take your time and that's okay. There's no rush here, but we don't want to stay here.
Right.
And so maybe then that's, hey, we got to the disclosure. Maybe we rest there for a little while, but then maybe we need to do some relational work and then we can go, and so I think life is that staircase, right? And it's okay to have these periods where you rest and you cocoon and you recover and you gain resilience. But what is all of that for other than to take the next step? honestly.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, that's how I view it.
Yeah.
Like,
healing
totally
is a
want
lifelong journey.
Yeah,
Growth is a lifelong journey.
I want to keep going up.
Yeah.
Okay. So not to drag the episode down, but grief is part of recovery. So what grief have you experienced and or do you still feel in relation to everything that's happened the past 5 years?
You know, you sent me I guess there's some sort of silly TikTok challenge or something that like, how do you look in your first wedding day?
It was a post on Threads that was like, if you are remarried, share both photos, the first wedding and the second wedding.
Yeah. And so you sent that to me, and we hadn't really, because we took down the wedding photos and all of those things. We don't really talk about those things. And seeing the look on your face on our wedding day really made me grieve, because I was like, man, I wish I could give that back to you. You know, that happiness that you had, and that, you were talking about moving through life before you discovered everything. And so, I grieve that. I grieve that for you especially. I grieve what Keegan lost, which was I think he gained it back, but like a dad he could look up to, you know what I mean? And I think in that moment, I grieve.
Maybe more of the shattering of like innocence that sort of is the globe that a child would grow up in, right? Without knowing some of the behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I really, really grieve that. I think there's a certain joy, and it wasn't really rooted in reality, right? But there was a certain joy to just being looked up to, right? Like, because you just do everything right and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's I don't want to come across egotistical at all. I don't want to do that. Because
I think people respect you for more authentic reasons now.
Yeah, true. And so, I think.
So whereas people respected you before and maybe shouldn't have because you were living not in integrity.
Right.
Now people respect you for living in integrity and being honest about it.
Yeah. So I think it's, I really do grieve that part for you. I grieve, there's days when and I don't know what our future holds as far as looking back on the past, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And but that's okay. I mean, it's you have to feel the weight of this, and you have to recognize the weight of it in order to move forward. And sometimes that means that some things don't come back out again. I mean, that's just. But I grieve for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we.
That was hard for you.
Yeah, I mean, you were so beautiful that day, and I really enjoyed that day. You know what I mean? It was like I felt like I showed up authentically. You know what I mean? And I get sometimes when the post betrayal, those symbols are taken down. It makes all the sense in the world, and I don't think for the addicts out there, don't ever push it. Seriously, don't push it. Understand it. Just sit in it because it's okay. But that's probably the one thing. Yeah, the big thing I grieve is that taking that specialness and innocence away from what was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, I think I would say the same thing in some ways. I do think there is a grief to losing that naivete, right? There's a part of me that kind of liked not knowing this part of the world, not knowing how prevalent this type of behavior is, not knowing the details and the ins and the outs of it, and thinking that you were so above being capable of that.
Yeah.
Right? I think there is a part that's like, oh man, living in a world where I thought that you weren't capable of that and thinking that my life was I just felt so lucky to be in our relationship and that I felt like it was so different, and that thinking, oh, this is going to be forever like this, losing, I think that innocence was that belief. I do think that was really, really hard. I think that going from so high to so low in such a short period of time, I think that was emotionally really, really challenging.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, right? Just the process of going through this, remembering, how many times I was in the bathroom in the middle of the night because I would wake up and then I would have to go cry or let the emotions out, or have a panic attack, or, you know, you think, oh gosh, we're here after 5 years. 5 years is both very long and very short when you go through something like this. There are periods like that first year that were excruciatingly long.
Yeah.
Excruciatingly long because of the level of pain that we were in. And it drags out time when you're in that level of the pit emotionally. And so, you know, you look back on that and you're like, how did I get through that? How did I survive that? How did I manage feeling that bad and end up here feeling so good, you know?
Right.
So there's grief of like the time that was lost, because the way that impacted my brain, like I feel like my brain in a lot of ways like just went offline. And I'm like, man, like how did I function? Because it just, all the chemicals in my body, the emotions, the brain chemicals, all the things, it's just, everything was so low, I feel like, for so long. There just was a lot of things in life that weren't getting done, you know? So it's kind of like life was put on pause for a really long time for me. Mm-hmm. And I, you know, of course, you get things done that you have to get done. And, you know, obviously I was working, well, not, the business that I was doing when all this came out kind of went downhill after that, in terms of like, I kind of pulled away and worked less and that sort of thing. And then I started doing the coaching things, and it's, you know, got more and more over the, you know, we started the podcast and I started working on the coaching is building and all this kind of stuff. But also there was like so many times where, because I'm an entrepreneur, I can sort of manage things of, you know, when do you schedule something? How do you, you know, but I look back and I'm like, I don't even know like how I would have been able to function in a 9 to 5. Yeah. That's just how deeply it impacted me. So you look back on that and you're like, you know, there's a lot of time. There's a big chunk in my life. But at the same time, I think while you can grieve that and look back on the pain and go, oh, that was just horrible. And there's nothing to say about it. It's just terrible. But I think at the same time, I sort of think about things where it's like, do I really want to go through 10 out of 10 pain for a period of time so that pain is dealt with? Or do I want to have 2 out of 10 pain for the rest of my life?
Right, yeah.
And I'm the kind of person that's like, give me the 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that mindset helps me a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a little bit of the answer of how I was able to get through it. Yeah. It's because I knew that I'd either get divorced if I got to the point where I was like, I just can't do that. And, you know, you and I have both talked about like that was very possible.
Yeah.
Many times. But I was either going to make that decision so that I could live a life where things got better, or we were going to get better.
Right.
And that was sort of, so I think that's a good way of saying, like, my mindset is give me the 10 out of 10. If I can get through the 10 out of 10, that's gonna, I'll face it that way for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Let's shift it back into the positive. Mm-hmm. Share some of the unexpected gifts or positive changes that long-term recovery has brought into our life. Is there something like maybe you didn't anticipate?
I tell you, the thing I didn't anticipate was my professional like ability or whatever. I sometimes I still have a hard time putting my finger on it. But
Patrick is very good at his job, and he's very emotionally intelligent, and he's very kind and compassionate and empathetic, and he brings that to his leadership skills at work, and he's being recognized for it.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
So that's how I would say.
Yeah, well, ended up getting a new boss and was able to kind of, start to influence beyond my scope of responsibility.
The way you coach people at work transformed after this, I feel like.
I think so, yeah. So I think my ability to connect to fears and help them through that and provide a safe space. I mean, I've had people tell me I'm the safest boss they've ever worked for. And sometimes I've said this, sometimes I have to remember because sometimes my subordinates will complain. And I'll be like, oh, for crying out loud. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no. They're complaining because they trust it's a safe space for them. You know what I mean? And so I think that was the thing that really, really surprised me. Mm-hmm. And, what's interesting, I went through a couple health things, 2 knee surgeries and all of these. At one point I felt like I was just really breaking down. I was like, what is going on with me? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so here it is at 5 years. I'm physically healthy. my work is going well. I have been able to kind of grow, not like a Tony Robbins way, but like it's like my ability to speak on it more has improved. I think that was another thing that surprised me. I was like, oh wow, like the ability to just talk about it. Maybe still get a little nervous or whatever, but just being able to talk on it was a real.
The thing that you kept hidden, like your life depended on it. That I would think that would be a surprising, like, oh, I can speak in front of a room full of 200 people and share my story.
Yeah.
Right. That's a huge transition.
I think the other thing that really surprised me too is where we
and also, by the way, a sign of deep healing.
Yeah,
I do think that's really important. Yeah. That like because I do think sometimes there's resistance to even sharing with a friend.
Right.
And that keeps people stuck. Keeps people stuck in addiction when we hide it. We have to talk. We have to talk about it.
Yeah. I think is the amount of deep healing that you and I gained on the intimacy side of things. Like, I mean, I was convinced that once it came out, that was it. I would probably never be intimate again in my life, and I was okay with that. Right? I really was. I was kind of like, okay, all right. Well, it's kind of like you were a douche, and this is what you get. You know what I mean? And so like
douche canoe to be specific.
Douche canoe, yeah. And so I think that has surprised me, and how not only the reconnection but just the beauty that is part of that now. I mean, so I think that was I think those are the two.
Well, stop stealing my thunder. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry.
No. I would say, let's see, things that I might not have anticipated. Well, like I said earlier, like there's nothing I could have anticipated. I had no idea how this was going to go at all. So pretty much everything that we've gained from it was unanticipated. Right. I did not go into therapy the first time and think, oh, someday I'm going to have a podcast about this. In fact, I remember sitting there and saying to my therapist, how can you sit there and listen to these stories every day? And then here I work as a coach hearing these stories all the time and talking to people. But I remember thinking, like, how can people hear this concept? Because it was just so shocking to me in the beginning. And so, that's been a huge growth of, being able to move through my own circumstances and our circumstances into being able to then support and encourage. I think were to the two words that I was trying to encourage. Support and encourage others through the process. Yeah. Music actually has been a really. I think I'm getting surprised right now at. I can't talk. My brain just.
It's okay. Focus.
I'm saying all these different things. Okay. Restart the computer. Recently, how I was sharing how I feel like there's this other layer of, I get to be my weird little self. I think that is also coming out in my singing, and I'm really excited about that, because even before discovery, when then my nervous system was so hit and my performance anxiety went sky high, even before that, when I was way more comfortable performing, I think I've always sort of had a little bit of a don't be too crazy, don't be too much like to yourself, you little weirdo, where but a good performer is themselves. Yeah. And so I think I'm coming into that, and that's really, really cool and really, really fun, and getting more comfortable again. And my it's paralleled, the healing with my nervous system. And so that's kind of neat. And I think spiritual evolution, because I think my journey with recovery with us, I think my spiritual journey kind of was a little roller coaster through that also. And so the evolution of, you can become a deeply spiritual person without necessarily having to do specific things, right? Like I'm not the person that does a daily devotional. I'm not, but I deeply believe my faith, right? And the recovery process and how God has shown up and how he interacts with us and how we interact with him and who I believe him to be. There's so much of maybe a deeper or a more complex or a I don't even know. This is another thing that might be difficult to explain. I think we've probably had some conversations about it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think so. And it's, I don't know if in 10 words or less, describe what Kylene just said.
Yeah, there's like a layer of like, sort of like your recovery, right? There's a layer of freedom in the relationship with God. And it's like he and I went through our own thing through this, where I was really upset. And he gave me my space to be upset and hurt. But because he, I was like, you let this happen. And like, I've been a faithful person and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. God and I have been on our own journey, and I think we're in a good place.
Well, I think it's when you can move beyond dogma and in any way, in any sort of thing, and be able to arrive at healthy answers through process and being in community and healing your wounds. I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't know if that's
and like I said, like the devotions, it's like. I don't want to offend anyone listening that might hold to this. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's like sometimes we have this idea that, well, if I pray a certain way or if I do a certain thing, like have a devotional every day, like that equals a good relationship with God. And it doesn't necessarily.
Right.
So I think that's also not the only, those aren't like the only tools to get you there. I think that's my point, right?
Yeah.
And so,
it's what's in the heart. You can either be very performative and tell people you've read books of the Bible every day for the last 50 years and be a horrible person.
Right. Yeah. So I think that spiritual journeys can also parallel recovery journeys in a lot of ways, and they should in a lot of ways, because what is it other than becoming a better person, becoming more deeply authentic and integrated as a human being who is physical, emotional, and spiritual. And so the spiritual journey should be part of that. And I think for us it has in a lot of ways. And I think the recovery, and I think that's another aspect of it, right? Like learning from other humans, learning from other resources, then you have the filter of your faith, and it sometimes will help you even see God in a better light, or relate to him differently, or there's just so much there. But yeah, I think that's shifted, and I think the unexpected might have been I was kind of cranky at him for a while. But we're good. Okay. So just a lot of good things. Our relationship and music and vulnerable connections with other people, growing and being able to share my story, your story, our story. Both of us have grown a lot in empathy towards other people, and always thinking, I think it's changed how we view the world, how we relate to other people and what they go through and how they feel, and all sorts of things. Lots of good stuff. If you could go back and say something to yourself right after, like in that first year or at the end of that first year, what do you think it would be?
Oh, I think it's the same thing I put in my 10-year letter and every sort of thing, like keep going. Keep going. It's, it as hard as this may seem right now, just keep going. Don't stop. And one foot in front of the other, wake up in the morning, do your thing, go to bed at night, do your thing. And so I think that would be, and that's what I think that's an important message for anybody at this stage. It's like, hey, just keep going. Keep going. Don't
just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah. And so, good job on the proper use of a story there. Unlike my earlier Hansel and Gretel.
Funny story. I was in the chorus of the opera Hansel und Gretel, and I dressed up as a gingerbread man.
Nice.
It's a horrifying photo of the gingerbread cut. You're like, what is that?
Yeah. Some of those costumes.
That was at school. Yeah.
But I think that's what I would continue to say, because hard things, you just have to keep going.
Yep. Okay. What would I say to myself? You don't have to do this. I'm so proud of you. Listen to your nervous system. Bigger things are coming. Keep going.
There you go. Yeah.
I think that's
good.
I think that's what I'd say. Okay. What message of hope would you most want to share with someone listening?
It does get better if you keep doing the work. It does get better. don't make a rash decision, but also understand what, and this is for the betrayed, I would say, it's like really listen to how, observe how they're behaving. Good things come when people work hard to change. Very rarely do good things come when people
trust the behavior.
Trust the behavior, and so don't put up with just words that don't have behaviors and actions behind it. You know what I mean? Like force a new normal. You're worth it. And for the addict side of things, I think what I would say the message of hope is, you're not defined by the status of your relationship. You're defined by how deeply you can heal. And so sometimes what happens is people are so triggered by the status of the relationship, which I certainly understand. I absolutely understand. But keep going.
And that's an opportunity, like we were talking about earlier, like when you have that discomfort inside, that's the thing you need to work on. Like you were saying, like all the things I was pulling out over the years. Oh, this is not good. A trigger is a reflection of an unhealed wound.
That's right.
It just means something there to heal. And so if you dig into it as opposed to running away from it, it's only going to help you.
That's right. Yeah.
I interrupted you. Keep going.
Oh, I think I was finished.
Oh, that was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my message is that there is a beautiful life waiting for you when you commit to the healing journey. Facing all the things you don't want to face.
Yep.
It's a thing you're avoiding the most that's going to be the most helpful to heal. And we aren't here, Patrick and I are not here to promote staying in marriages that drain the life out of you. We want to share that healing is possible when you choose it. And the world is so full of opportunities. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. We have to face ourselves, reach out to others, and be willing to step into the unknown for some of the best things to happen.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave with this magical, special?
Well, yes. I mean, thank you. Thank you. I mean, to you and
I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of you.
I'm proud of you too. I mean, it as we've said, it wasn't easy, but I mean, I wouldn't be here today, if in this kind of healing state without you. And so,
thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Love you.
Love you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. As to you.
Every day is a new opportunity to choose health and freedom. Make that choice today, and we will see you next week. Woohoo! If you're listening to this, it means you've made it through an entire episode. Part of recovery is spending time engaging in healing and self-growth activities. We are thankful that you chose our podcast to be one of those activities today. Make sure you reward yourself for that accomplishment. If you've enjoyed this episode or this podcast, we would love to hear from you. Please take just a few moments to leave a rating and review, letting us know your experience with Recover You. We not only love hearing how these episodes are helpful, but ratings and reviews help others just like you who are searching for recovery information and support find the podcast too. We can't wait to hear from you. See you next week.